Welcome to Code Creative. I'm Travis Tolson. So today we're picking up where we left off last time. We're going to jump into skeleton loading. And so to kick off here, I'm going to go ahead and pull up where we left off last time, assuming I can remember. Actually, you know what? We created in a scoped app, so I'm just going to pop that open in Womp Womp. All right, we'll go through Studio. Code Creative Widgets, and I'm going to open up that simplest skeleton load. And okay, so now that I've got that open, I think we were just doing it in preview if I remember correctly. So actually, let me go ahead and pull that back up. There we go. Okay, so this is where we left off last time. We've still got some template text in here, and I want to work on getting that out of there. But first, David Arbor, I've got to give a shout out to him. After the last one, he reached out to me and let me know what was going on with the c.server.update, c.server.get here in the client script. So basically, the issue here, first of all, c.server.update does in fact pass c.data back to the server the same way that we were discussing last time, and it does automatically set the c.data to our response. So I'm actually going to switch that back to update, and now we no longer need this dummy placeholder here. And we can also remove the c.data. Now, the part that I was missing, though, is that the c.data and our data over here actually has to have something available in the initial load. And I'm guessing, if I had to hazard a guess here, I'm thinking that if I go if empty object, I think if I log this out, I think we're going to get nothing. Nope, it did log it. So even still, that's not, I'm not entirely sure why it's happening, but for some reason we have to have something on the data object outside of our if input here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm actually going to move isLoading over to the server side. And this should actually take care of the issue for us. So initially, isLoading will be true. And on the input, I will set it back to false. Make sure we use the assignment operator, not subtracting false. And in theory, I should be able to strip out the entire then statement and our isLoading and consolidate everything down. And I'm going to watch this preview over here. And I couldn't quite tell. Let's do this. I can't quite tell if it's... Oh, I know what the issue is. c.data.isLoading and c.data.isLoading, because we've changed from c.isLoading to the data isLoading, which if you remember from last time, the data object becomes c.data in our client script. So when I save this, there we go. If you watch the preview, you'll see it flinch real quick. It starts with that template garbage that we're going to change today, and then quickly loads up the actual data for the simple list. So in this way, we were able to really simplify our client-side script to just a simple c.server.update on the initial load. And we pretty much moved everything to the server side, and really it all came down to we had to have something on the data object for the initial load in order for that to actually take effect, and for the c.server.update to be able to pass an object back to the server. that was recognized as input. So that little change was able to solve our issue. If you're catching up on that one, it may be worthwhile for you to go back and watch the first video, and you'll get to see the headache I ran into in trying to figure that one out. So once again, thank you to David Arbor, who reached out last time and helped put me on the right track. All right, so next up, I want to start tackling the actual skeleton load itself. Now, in order to get this right, we need to mirror our existing text here. We need to mirror that in our skeleton loader. So I'm going to get rid of all of these little LIs here. And so first off, I'm going to do just a single LI. And eventually we'll repeat this a couple times, and I'm hoping that's going to give us what we're looking for. So again, we want to mirror the same HTML structure that we had before, or that we have down here. So we've got 1, 2, 3 divs that contain content. We're not populating that last one yet, so I'm going to leave that one off. And next, I'm going to say I need to add a class to these, and I'll call it skeleton text. And I will add the same class, copy, and paste it to this div. All right, so now what I want to do is add some styles to this class. So I'm going to pull up our little SCSS CSS here. And I'm going to stick more or less to hard coding, at least for now. We'll take this up a notch once we get the basics working. So background color, let's go. We'll do something really obnoxious to start with, just to make sure we can see it. In-house designer is chastising me in the background over here because she's not happy with my obnoxious color choice. Let's see. Okay, so I do need to specify a height. So let's give it a 1 EM. And for those who aren't as familiar with CSS, EM is the it's the actual EM height. It's functionally your line height. It's help me out, designer. What's the M height?
It's the width of an M in your font.
Okay, she says it's the width of an M in the font. In my mind, it's essentially it's roughly equivalent to 1 line height of your body text.
Yeah, it's the font size. If the font size of the document is 12.1 EM is equal to 12 points.
So there you go. And then if I do the one, actually let's do 1 rem. Let's do rem. Rem is actually going back to your root EM. So if your default font size on your body is 12 pixels, 14 pixels, whatever it happens to be, 1 rem is equivalent to that particular font size. Jace Benson, hey, how's it going, man? Glad you could join. Just saw him pop up in the chat over there. All right, so let's keep on going here. Maybe Jace knows some CSS he can throw out at me and keep me down the right path. All right, so let's go ahead and save this real quick, watching the preview. And nothing. Let's try that again. Watching the preview. There we go. Okay, so Jay says he's terrible at making things look pretty. Well, that's okay. That's what I've got my in-house designer back here for. She's here to make things look better. She makes all of my work look better, whether I want her to or not.
Facts.
All right. So if we watch that preview again, we get that quick blip of red, and I'm not feeling real good about that though, because I'm only seeing one pop up. Let me add some padding to this just to see where we're sitting. Save it. No, still not looking good. I'm going to go ahead and toggle this so I can get a better look at it. So I'm going to switch the ng-if. Dave Spangler, in-house designers always make things better. That is a fact. I would be lost without mine. All right. Yeah, it comes up for a moment, and that's the thing with the skeleton loading is that unless you are really quick at seeing what's happening, it helps to go ahead and just toggle it on all the time. So now we can see that red, and I've got a little dot. I'm missing my list group item class on these, on this LI. That I was missing, so that should help. Sarah has now joined. All right, so let's see. I still only got the one line there, and that's bothering me a little bit. Let's do an inspect element and see what I've actually got coming up here in the final render. All right, so we can see that both divs are populating, and ow. Silly, silly me. Padding is included on the inside, so background color is included in the padding, which is why I can't see them individually. So we're going to add a margin, and I think, well, not 2.2 EMs of it, that's for sure. It's a lot of margin. And I put it in the wrong spot, so I'm going to flip my 0. So specifying your margin in this way lets you specify the vertical margin, so top and bottom margin, and your left and right margins the same. So it's a quick shorthand. There we go. Now we've got 2 in there. So Jace is asking what we're doing here. So basically the end goal is to set up the skeleton loading. I guess I should have covered this to recap from last time before I got kicked off. But basically, what we're going for is a skeleton loading, something along these lines where it displays the placeholder as it loads up. So, you know, you see this a lot in Facebook. You see it in LinkedIn where it starts with the placeholder images, and then once the data has loaded, then it displays the data. YouTube looks more official when I'm sitting in the office. That is something that I'm not sure about. In the home office, everything looks unofficial all the time. I'll have to share a picture of my new setup. Last time I was sitting at my coffee table and I pulled a monitor out and stuck it on the coffee table. Today I've scaled up a little bit and I'm sitting on a work table from my garage that I have thrown a beat up vinyl tablecloth over. Just went to where the people were. All right, so kicking back over to the editor. So yeah, we're going for that skeleton loading look, and you know, one of the things I mentioned last time was that skeleton loading is real good for the side content, but I don't usually recommend it for the main content, and there's a lot of debate back and forth in the UX community as to whether it's better or worse than just loading on a blank screen. So you'll see it both ways. My recommendation, at least from what I've seen, and it's not like I've been able to do some extensive user experience studies the way I'd like to on this, maybe one day. But my recommendation is usually to keep the skeleton loading on the side content. Don't beat up your wife's tablecloth. Outstanding point, Jace. Outstanding point. We've actually had the same table for, gosh, at least 13 years now.
That was my parents'.
That was your parents' table. So that, yeah, our table's been due for an upgrade for a long time. All right, let's see. So padding, my line height still feels a little short there. Let's go to a 2 rem. Actually, let's drop it back to EMs. See if that makes a difference. And a lot of times with CSS, especially in Service Portal, we're just kind of playing around a little bit to see what looks best. I'm thinking 1.25 is what I'm going to settle on. Okay, I like the 1.25. I like the way that one looks. Now, I do need to come up with a good light gray color. And to do that, I'm going to jump over to the, what's it called? Bootstrap 3 CSS Variables. I'm actually going to choose for, Sarah says F2, F2, F2. Normally, I would take your word for it, but in this case, I am going to look at the Bootstrap variables to try and bring it in line with whatever the theme is. So I'm going to look up the border colors. Table border color is one option. There's some button borders. Input borders. You know, let's just do border dash color. Legend border color. Drop down background. Drop down border. No, not the navbar border. Not the nav tabs. Somewhere in here's got to be a good one. What is the? It's a panel. Let's drop down to the panels. Panel, border, color, nothing. Panel background, panel botting, panel default border. Here we go. Let's go with the panel default border. So skipping back over. Search for F2, F2, F2. All right, so I'm going to give it the panel default border. That might work. All right, and then the last thing that I want to do here is I do want to shrink this top one up. So we are going to go and add a title class to this one. Dot title. And we'll give a width of, let's say, 4 EM. Let's see how that one does. Actually, no. Let's not do EMs on this one. Since our panel could vary in width, let's go with 33.33%, and we'll go percentage based on our width. And I know ServiceNow has the old style guide that isn't Service Portal specific, but I wonder if they have one. Does anyone know? I'm not sure, Jace. I don't know if they've still got a style guide out on that one or not. I've heard of 2 different style guides that they've got for UI UX. Personally, I usually stick to the Bootstrap CSS theme variables. And the main reason for that is that if I jump back and look at the service portals, most of the variables that you see in these CSS variable fields, maybe it's in the theme. Yeah, so you can see the gray base, gray dark, darker, brand primary, body background. A lot of these variables are overriding Bootstrap variables. So that's usually what I stick to, at least from a service portal perspective. You know, so like if I look at the brand primary and jump over here, $. Wow, my copy paste skills are apparently terrible. Yeah, see, so you've got the brand primary, brand success. So I usually go off of the Bootstrap Sass variables, at least for the service portal, just because it's used extensively in the out-of-box theme. Let's see, where is my... There we go. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and add one more line of text. And so now what we've got here is we've got our top title, and then we've got 2 lines of body text in there. So next up, what I want to do is I want to repeat this a couple times. And I am going to use, and I can't remember if there's an Angular syntax for this or not. Item in, let's look this one up, because I want to say that there may have been a syntax, or maybe it was just a some sort of plugin I was using before, but AngularJS, repeat, set number of times. Track by index. Okay, so yeah, that's not quite what I was thinking, but close enough. All right, so basically what we're going to do here is say ng repeat for each item in, and we're just going to generate an array of 5 items. And the track by index is basically to prevent AngularJS's digest loop from going nuts. So instead of tracking it by the AngularJS hash code that's created for each item, it's going to track it by the index number. Otherwise, what we would end up with is we would end up with an infinite digest loop where it keeps checking and keeps seeing new hash codes, and so it keeps sending it back into the digest loop again. So then we're going to save, and now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 5 is currently our hard-coded set limit. So at this point, we've got our skeleton ready to go. I'm going to take the not off of the ng if to show it only when we're loading. And so now you can see that it really quickly jumps in, the data loads, and then it gets replaced. Now, the next cool thing that we can add to that is we can add a CSS transition or some CSS animations. And I'm going to look this one up because once again, I don't remember how to do this off the top of my head. I believe we're going to be using some CSS keyframes. But basically what we want to do is, here's a code pen. There we go. So this you see this little animation here where the chrome kind of shimmers across. And that's what I tend to see in a lot of the other ones. How does LinkedIn do it? I don't quite remember. LinkedIn doesn't do it anymore. Okay, so LinkedIn has gone back to the scrolling loader, and I think Facebook only does it on the mobile app. Now, I don't even... Yeah, okay, never mind. I haven't really messed with Facebook in a while, so I don't even know. But we'll go ahead and go with this. So if I take a look at their CSS, let's just kind of deconstruct this a bit. They got their demo, background image. They're using a linear gradient. And there we go. There's the keyframes. So basically they're using background position. All right, so demo empty. So I should be able to actually take most of this. It looks like I should be able to leverage a lot of this here. Background image, background size. Yeah, I'm actually feeling pretty good about most of that. Probably want to change the light gray. But we'll work that once we get it in place. And then I'll have to add the keyframes as well. So keyframes is an animation concept, and going to be easier to sketch this one out. So let's see if I can get this pulled up. Oh no. Back. All right, so let's go to, I think it's number 2. There we go. All right. So in keyframes, you know, if you think back to and I can't be the only one that's done this, but think back to the days where you'd make little flip books, you know, and you would turn around and you would have, you know, you'd have a guy drawn, and yes, I'm definitely not an artist, and, you know, he's got his little balloon, and then, you know, you would draw a sequence of frames where he would be progressively higher on the page. And you would just keep drawing and just keep drawing and just keep drawing until he was off the page. So basically what keyframes does is keyframes allows you to say that this is a keyframe, this is a keyframe, and then it tells the, it basically tells your animation engine to figure the rest out in between. So instead of having to draw every single frame in between, you can have it figure out what the in-between frames need to be. So that's essentially what the keyframe is the keyframe would be your starting frame and your ending frame over the course of a single transition. Yes, Dave Spangler helped his daughter make her first flipbook last week. Awesome. I am glad there are people on board with this. So let's see, where was I? Right, okay, so CSS. So the CSS I copied, we need to drop down into our skeleton text. And then to add the shine, we have to go back to the skeleton screen with CSS, and I need to copy this particular keyframe. And so what you see here is this keyframe is being leveraged right here on this animation line. So it's saying animation, shine, 1 second, infinite. And what that means is that, and you can see that in the 2, we are animating to a background position. So here is our starting background position is defined in the initial class. And then the animation is declared. And that animation specifies a keyframe, which specifies what we're moving to. So our first background position is going to be, let me see if I can extend this down a bit so we can see all of it at once. So we're starting at, looks like this is the major difference right here, is that our highlight is moving from 0 to 100%. So we're starting at the 0 position and we're moving to the 100% over the course of 1 second, and we are looping that infinitely. And so that is what's defining the overall animation. And, you know, keyframes are really, really cool because you can specify additional keyframes throughout. You know, we could turn around and we could change some of the animation, the curve, the acceleration of it throughout. There's a lot that you can do to tweak and mess with these different keyframes. I usually try to find somebody who has already done some basic framework like this, and then I'll try to enhance and extend upon it. No sense reinventing the wheel when much smarter folks than me have already done the hard work. So we'll come in here and we'll define our keyframe. And then save. And I'm going to have to go back to showing the skeleton all the time. And we've got something interesting going on there. Let's eliminate our background color. And instead we'll move our color down to the light gray. We'll replace light gray with our color there. And remove the background color. Let's see if that improves it at all. Not quite, not quite. So, radial gradient. Let's see if I can figure out what I'm missing here. Empty. Margin auto. Let's kind of shrink this down a bit. There we go. Let's kind of bring these so I can manage flipping back and forth a little more easily. Width 500. Let's get rid of my HTML template, client script and server script for now, since we're not messing with those. Height, margin. Let's see. I think what we're going to try doing is eliminate. I'm not sure what this is going to do, but here we are. And I broasted it. All right, so that didn't go as planned. What happened? I lost the whole dang thing. Where's my preview? Just do it. All right, let's see if I got an error. Oh, wait, there it goes. Okay, well, some loads take longer than others, I guess. All right, so let me do some inspect element. And let's see if we can parse out what some of these elements are. Maybe that'll give me a hint. So this is another way that we can kind of play with CSS, is I can start hitting checkboxes and see what happens. Oh, background repeat's fun. Background position. sure what the issue is. Margin auto could possibly be making a difference. Height could possibly be making a difference. You know what else could be making a difference is the fact that he's got the little profile circle over there. That's just fun. I don't even quite know what I did there, but that is fun. All right, so background size, background repeat. I did. I broke everything. We're getting closer. Maybe. Yeah, that's a fun animation. I don't know exactly what I would use that for, but I'm really enjoying some of the weird motions and movements I'm getting out of this. Some of this stuff I've never actually seen before, so this is just entertaining at this point. Ah, there we go. Okay. So what I need to do is I need to eliminate the circle from each of our CSS specifications. So it's specified as a radial gradient and background image. It's specified on the background size here. It is specified on the background position here. And it is specified in our final shine keyframe. If I get rid of all of those and save it, our position is jilted, but we actually have a more sensible animation going on. So that's a positive movement. Let's inspect. And let's see here. We get a div up there that's hidden. We get a div here. We get a div here. Okay. Background size. Let's see. So because we've got our linear gradient specified there, I wonder if this has to do with our background sizing. 50 pixels. Let's just see if I change it to 5. Let's see what that impacts. All right, so you notice that as I changed that one, it changed our shine. Control Z to change that one back. And okay, so our background size is controlling the shine. Our background image is controlling the actual gray background. And we are set to 50%. Let's see, having trouble remembering what each of these specifications are. All right, so let's take a look. We've got in the background image, let's close a couple of these up again. I'm starting to run out of time again. 100 degrees. We've got, all right, so degrees, the degrees on the linear gradient is the direction that the gradient's going in. The RGBA is the color. 255, 255, 255.
It's transparent.
Isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
It's basically black with varying degrees of transparency.
so let's try changing, let's just try changing all of these first ones. Or actually no, because that one should be the, what's that?
What Jay said.
Line 23 needs to be 0, 0 on the background position. Let's give it a shot.
And then the shine position too.
That's even better. Because the circle was left more, right? Okay, so we are getting closer. Now, one problem that we've got here is that Inhouse Designer strikes again. Yeah, we're a lot closer. So the first of all, previously I was controlling the title by the width of the div, but now that our background color, our background size, background image is controlling the width of the box, that's what's impacting the difference in the speeds of these two shines. I think if I get rid of that one, okay, so now they're all at the same speed. But what we need to do is we need to increase the width of the overall text to extend to 100%. Background size. Let's see. Let's try this. Nope. I think we established that the zoom enhance. Look, all I can say is at least we're not making this GUI in Visual Basic. All right, so let's see if we... All right, so the background size impacts both our shine and our overall width. Drag and drop, though. So let's go with, let's see, background size, highlight, background position. Wondering which of these is going to make the difference. CSS background positioning and background images clearly is not my forte. Highlight. Let's not do that one. Let's try this one first. Let's see what some of these impact. Did I break it? There we go. All right, so now we're back. Let's see. Linear gradient, panel border, 20 pixel, 20 pixel. Background size. So that one's supposed to be the highlight. Thank you, Mr. TV. We're slowly getting there. We're slowly getting there. Little by little, piece by piece. Looks like Kit. Ah. Now I kind of want to make a Trans Am out of CSS with that Kit animation there.
Don't look at me. No. No.
I can't do it without you.
I have a certain set of skills.
Oh, gosh. Well, unfortunately, it's about time for me to go make dinner. So what I'm going to do is we'll leave that one at not. And I am going to have to throw in the towel for today. We're a little bit closer. Next time we're going to try and get the title shortened, the two body texts lengthened out, and we'll try and get the whole thing set up exactly how we want it visually. And then hopefully we'll move on. We'll be able to move on to improving the instance options and just overall expanding the capabilities of the widget as a whole. Coding while cooking? I don't know if I can do that. I take my cooking pretty seriously. Publish to fork. Next time you need to also check Twitch chat. Does that not come through on the restream?
Oh, does it not?
Andrew, help me out. You're the only one.
Help me, Obi-Wan.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
I might have to see.
Yeah, I see Crash in there. Kevin Eldridge. Okay, how's it going, Kevin? I was watching a channel advocating for only streaming to one stream. No, I don't think I did. Did I miss Andrew? Yeah, I didn't even see it come through, Andrew. I'm sorry.
Can you watch this channel?
Yeah, I got Twitch. Twitch is in here as well, but it doesn't look like Andrew's came through. /shrug. Exactly, Jace. Exactly. Well, if we're going to start having more conversations during this stuff, I might have to look into adding the little chat stream widget to OBS. I read something about that. That way you guys can see what's coming through too. Threw you a raid in Twitch too. Andrew, I don't even know what that means. I'm going to have to talk to you about that one offline. All right. Well, thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate everybody joining, and hopefully I'll see you guys next time. Have a good night, guys.